Welcome to Beyond Adjustments, the podcast where chiropractic care meets next level innovation, strategy, and maybe a laugh or two. So I'm your host, Amin Saeed, and today we're joined by Dr. Alex Mack, a chiropractor who's redefining recovery and performance with his cutting-edge approach at Olympus Sports Therapy. Dr. Mack took the bold step of opening his own practice right after graduation, and today he's here to share what makes his care unique, how he balances the needs of pro athletes and everyday patients, and why personalized recovery is the future of wellness. So, whether you're driving, you're walking, or pretending to work while you're listening, get ready to be inspired and maybe crack a smile. Cue the music. Let's dive in. Dr. Mack, welcome to the show. I am so excited, so excited to have you on, man.
Happy to be here, man. I appreciate the reach out.
Absolutely. I'm honored to have you here, man. I'm just going to jump right in. I want to talk a little bit about your personal side and then a little bit of your professional journey, if you don't mind. So let me touch a little bit on your academic journey because it really stood out to me, right? You crushed it in school, graduating summa cum laude this year. And what kept you motivated to aim so high?
So it's actually interesting because I never really started out like that. I think when I started school down in San Diego, there was a lot of trying to figure myself out. So I ended up bombing majority of my courses early on in my academic career for the first year or so, and I had to play catch up. I ended up taking more classes than I needed to be able to kind of finish the prerequisites, and then I had to take on multiple jobs. And as I was able to kind of finish, the momentum of me catching back up, basically had like a 1.8 or like a 2.0 GPA and raised it to like a 3.1 in undergrad.
Wow.
And that momentum, I graduated, it was right during COVID. So things kind of just slowed down. You stayed at home. I had 2 weeks after I graduated from San Diego State, and I went straight into chiropractic school.
Wow. Okay.
And I kind of just made it a mission, telling myself, like, I've spent a lot of time, I have a lot of momentum going out. I might as well just keep it. And
That's
I feel
great.
like that kind of fired me up throughout the 4 years I was there. And I was also really interested into it. So it really never felt like I was studying super hard. Yeah, I have a harder time studying for things now after I graduated.
Nobody wants to go back to school. I did that actually, but that's awesome, man. That's really cool. I actually have a similar story, but high school for me. I literally just didn't care the first couple of years, and I ended up doing high school in like 2 years with like extra courses and night school and all that stuff. Like it was crazy, but I totally understand that. Totally get it. What did you study at San Diego? Is it SDSU? Is that the college you went to?
Yeah. I went to San Diego State University. I graduated with a bachelor of kinesiology, and it's actually in the emphasis of pre-physical therapy.
Okay.
So I was getting most of my hours going, trying to get into physical therapy school, and I made a career change, like, as I was getting my letters of rec hours and all the volunteer hours before you could.
Right. So how do you think that shaped you specifically, like as a chiropractor, like who you are today? Please tell me the name of the degree again. Is it?
It was a bachelor's of kinesiology.
Kinesiology. That's it. How do you feel like that shaped you?
So San Diego State's really well known for their physical therapy program, and I believe that when you're talking about trying to get into healthcare or holistic healthcare, where we're not typing on like internal medicine, you have to have a really strong foundation of health. And one of the biggest things is exercise. and physical therapists are the leaders when it comes to movement and everything
Uh,
along the line. So I understand that even chiropractic is based on movement, but a lot of it's based on a subluxation based model or
sure.
adjusting certain areas to fix all this stuff. There's tons of different like theories and schools of thought, and it kind of helped me segue myself into a niche. And I feel like it's popular, but not as popular as the traditional route. So it's more like
Uh,
movement based chiropractic,
uh,
rehab based, and there's actually like schools of thought in chiropractic. People call them like mixed or straight chiropractors.
okay.
Have you ever heard that term?
I don't think so. I might have, but I'm not, I can't recall. No. Mixed or what?
Or straight?
Straight. Okay.
It's interesting.
Mixed
It's
or,
super interesting.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like imagine this, right? You take
Yeah.
there was a guy and founder of chiropractic. What he did was he would adjust people, and somehow all these things started going away. But this is like back at like the 1800s. So
Okay.
he would. It was kind of hard to research or put studies out for this stuff. And as even though there was research coming out because of this guy and the people under him, a lot of it was based off a kind of like I wouldn't want to say like religious, kind of like a religious background. It's like,
Okay.
oh, if we adjust you, we're going to fix the innate, is what they would call it.
Okay.
And that's kind of like, in essence, oh, if we adjust you, we're going to fix some type of alignment, make sure that your nerves are running properly so you have enough kind of power going into certain parts of your body. But then
Uh,
there's mixed chiropractic where they're starting to mix chiropractic principles and theories, but also use other tools like exercise. Some people are into
mm-hmm.
functional medicine. Some people
Mm-hmm.
kind of follow like a nutritional chiropractic route. And we kind of hit
Yeah.
our own like subspecialties within it.
Yeah. My kids see a scoliosis specialist that they see. So both my kids have scoliosis,
Good.
unfortunately. And their journey has been ridiculous. Actually, it's why I do what I do today. That and my journey alone with chiropractic.
Mm.
But they not only have to get their adjustments and what have you, but they have specific exercises and movements that they have to do at home. They have like over an hour worth of exercises every single day that they have to do. So I get that. I get that. I guess we're in the mixed group, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like you
Yeah.
don't see that many straight chiropractors anymore. You still see some here
Yeah.
and there, but it's
Yeah.
definitely starting to go more the route of like whatever is going to help the patient is going to help them.
Yeah. Interesting term, straight. Okay. All right. So dude, let's talk a little bit about your bold beginnings because opening Olympus Sports Therapy literally right after graduation, like just wow. What made you decide to dive in head first instead of taking a more, traditional route of possibly going being an associate somewhere?
So the thing is that even though I started right after I graduated, I actually held a job, or well, I got a part-time job working at a personal injury clinic, and then I
Okay.
decided to start my own thing right away. But even 1 month in, I couldn't do it. I just quit and I went
Uh,
full in, burned all my ships. I'm like putting 100% of my effort into like investing into myself and my future.
that's
I think
awesome.
that when it comes to graduating with some type of clinical degree or in general, I think a lot of people who are consulting or doing certain services, they have this thing where they have a vision of trying to
Uh,
get people better or solve problems, but
uh-huh.
that can be limited when you have to work under other people.
Okay.
So
Okay.
going into it, I realized, hey, like I really, really believe in a lot of this stuff, but the more I read and research is that there's so many theories and thoughts on how to get people better, but they all work. It's what you believe in and what you tend to go towards. I've seen people fix low back pain like 16 different ways.
Uh,
It's like, oh, are you gonna adjust them and then do more of a lifestyle change for them and talk to them about advice? Are you gonna get them to do exercise? Are you going to kind of combine or mix a bunch of different things. Some people are, oh, we'll focus on your ankles and your feet and whatever. And
Yeah.
it becomes a whole different thing where now we're talking about there's a variety of ways to treat. And I want to kind of pave the way to allow for traditional like rehab where the
Yeah.
corrective exercise and
Yeah.
kind of be able to incorporate like performance training or like strength and
Gotcha.
conditioning. And now we're trying to not only tackle someone's issue, but make their whole functionality and life better as a whole throughout the whole
Love it.
process.
Love it. Love it. So I got $1 million question for you. You could sit down with your younger self, right? Just a couple years back, like right as you were about to start chiropractic school. What advice would you give that younger version of Dr. Alex Mack?
Damn, that's a super good question. I think I would say it to foster more relationships. I realized that even not just about like chiropractic and stuff like that,
Mm,
but to be successful in a world where the species we are social beings, and if we're going to be able to kind of push for business or helping people, first thing that comes down to is how you communicate with people, how you're able to not only bring joy to yourself, but to the ones around you. We're in the world helping each other. When we have careers, we're kind of building a career to help society or other people. We're fixing problems
mm-hmm,
that are meant for societal stuff. So
mm-hmm.
the first thing is being better at talking to people. I think a lot of people
Okay.
get really, really stuck into not being able to talk to people because they think, oh, I'm just going to worry about what I have around me or things that are going
Right.
on. But in
Very
reality, even for,
self-involved. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, even like
Yeah.
patient outcomes, like I could be the best clinician in the world, but if I can't talk to you and make you have a better day, you might hate
Yeah.
everything I do, or you
Yeah.
might still be stressed out. It's not just about trying to fix people's problems and look at,
Yeah.
oh, your problem. It's more like your person. We need to figure out how can
Right.
we get you to feel better from a mental standpoint.
Sure. Yeah. I love it. Great. Okay. Let's get into a little bit of the chiropractic care. Because I know you treat both athletes and everyday people,
Mhm.
you know, big belly folks like myself. Um, let's talk a little about the sports and recovery aspect. You carved out this niche, right, as you mentioned, in sports rehab and performance. What is it about working with athletes that really fires you up? Because it sounds to me, Dr. Mack, that you're not, you tried going to work for someone and there was nothing really driving you there. And you're like, nope, this is not going to work for me. And there was this drive behind it, and then you landed in sports rehab and performance. Like, why? What fires you up there?
I think it's the mentality that they have.
Mm,
Me being an athlete growing up, I never got to certain levels of it, right? Because there's levels to it. There's like recreation, and then you played competitive, and then you were good enough in competitive to play college. From college, you go to professional, X, Y, and Z.
right.
I ended up playing volleyball in high school. I did a lot of random sports, like a rock climb for a couple of years. I did this Chinese thing, line dancing, for like 8, 9 years.
That's so
And
cool.
I was super injured. I torn my hamstring where it's like purple from butt down on my right
Oh my
side. I
God.
sprained my ankles. I had jumper's knee in both knees where I had to wrap it, ice it before I would practice every game. It was
Oh
always
man.
swollen. I had a lot of pain in a lot of different areas, and I didn't really have the resources to kind of get it fixed. And I would go to a chiropractor when I was younger, and all they did was adjust me and teach me some stuff, and I didn't really
Sure.
like help. And even going into it, I was like, oh, I don't think I want to get in chiropractic. But then when I realized
Yeah.
that it's never about really what you had the degree in when it comes to healthcare, it's just about the things that you research after.
Is
Yeah,
it their drive and their mentality that really says, okay, I'm going to bring these people in, and their mentality is going to produce results because of what they're shooting for. They have a goal. They need to be their optimal self, right? So you kind of work alongside them to get them there. Is that
Mm.
accurate?
Yes. Because, okay, so half the battle is me trying to figure out the problem and then
Uh,
giving the proper exercises
sure.
and the proper cues on how to do them. But the other half is if they're motivated and willing to do so. So I've had people who had back pain for 6, 7, 8 years and they haven't been able to figure it out. They failed physical therapy, chiropractic. They've had like 3 surgeries. They're consistently been told to, oh, you gotta take a shot. You gotta live with it. And I've been able to get them out of it in 2 or 3 months. But they were
Wow.
extremely motivated. They did everything
Sure.
I said. They did the
Yeah.
exercises. There's levels to healing and
Sure.
remodeling of tissue. So a lot of it works. You just have to stick to it. But when we talk about the average Joe coming in, people have a certain mentality of, hey, I need you to fix me. But in
Yeah.
reality, a lot of it kind of comes within. If you want to get fixed yourself, then you have to put in the work. And if things
Yeah.
haven't been going your way, then you have to try something new. I think
Right.
anything works. If it works for you, go ahead. Everyone has a different lifestyle. Everyone's got different goals. I'm never
Yeah.
going to knock it down. But if you want to come to me and try something new and innovative in order to not just strengthen whatever you hurt, but fix functionality. You can't
Uh,
always chase pain. Like you could have low back pain, but what if there's something going on like you play volleyball or basketball, but you're really bad at absorbing force and you have
uh,
certain characteristics that are poor. Now we're talking about your whole body taking more of a beating when you are not strong in certain areas. It just goes
mhm.
upstream or downstream.
Got it. So I guess that leads me into this to more of the custom care arena, right? Because you have everyday patients, um,
Mhm.
like myself. You have your those that are really performance uh, oriented, or that's where their mindset is. And I would say that every story is unique, right? You said it yourself. So how do you figure out like where or what their body really needs, whether they're recovering from an injury or aiming to level up their performance?
So one of the first things that happens if someone walks into my office, I always, always, always do a free assessment. I don't care.
Okay.
I'm always going to do a free assessment because the
Okay.
assessment gives me a really, really good understanding about not just your physical status or your injury status, but also where your head's at.
Uh-huh.
Such a big thing is about why are you here and what are your goals? Once we can figure out your goals, we figure out the history of things that occurred, it starts to paint a picture. It's kind of like we're going
Uh,
down the whole, okay, let's paint this giant picture and let's just see what we got. And
yeah.
let's see if there's anything we got to fix. There could be 16 different things we got to fix. And some things,
Yeah.
of course, you can't be telling. It's if someone comes into me and they look like they got a bad attitude or they got something going on. Now
Yeah.
it's my job to kind of figure out, okay, hey, I'm curious. You came in and you are saying X, Y, and Z. You're acting this way. There's something going on. If there's something going
Gotcha.
on, talk deeper into it. People aren't going
Gotcha.
to want to do whatever you put in is what you get out. If you come in with a bad attitude and you don't want to get better and everything seems hard to you, you might not
Yeah.
push your body hard enough to make the adjustments.
Yeah.
So now we had to talk
Yeah.
about first that, and then we go into the whole realm of, okay, you're going through injury. Is it that you're doing too much, too
Yeah.
little? What's
Uh-huh.
damage? Is it truly coming from there? And as we start to kind of fix a little details in the picture, it gets more and more clear. Like, have you ever watched Shrek?
Yeah, of course.
So there's like an onion, right? The Shrek onion. They peel it. It's
Yeah.
always talking about ogres have layers, like
Yeah.
injuries and people. They have just layers and layers upon them.
Yeah.
And as we start to peel them down, we're gonna find the root of what's going on.
Mm, love
Like
it.
interesting story was actually one of my mentors was telling me about this. That kind of led
Yeah.
me down this rabbit hole.
Mm,
He was dealing with a patient, low back issue, like 1 or 2 years, and after about like 3 to 6 months, I think, around that time, he
Yeah.
was able to get him to be extremely functional. So
Yeah.
deadlifting, before he could barely bend down to his toes, deadlifting, squatting, lunging, doing all this stuff.
It's
Great.
crazy.
Still had back pain. Didn't know why. He's like, you know what? I gotta send you a specialist. He ends up recommending him to go to a therapist. And after going to a therapist for about a month or so, he ends up texting him back that, hey, I appreciate you reaching out to the therapist. I was actually going through a lot of stress in my life at the moment, and
Wow.
I didn't really understand. Well, his name's not in here or anything like that, but I think he was going through like a divorce, and I think
Yeah.
someone in his family like passed away. So after
Yeah.
working that out with
That's
the
traumatic.
therapist
Yeah.
and getting the functionality from my old mentor, he ended up getting better.
Wow. So the stress in his life was really causing that pain. Now, it wasn't just a physical ailment. It was really just kind of how his body was processing that stress.
100%.
Yeah. 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 That's crazy, man. So that kind of leads me into the the way people are walking into your establishment, because a lot of patients are probably coming to you with something already, that they screwed up, or something that went wrong,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe a car accident, or some, like me last year. I don't even know how it happened, but I got to the point where my entire body just felt inflamed, and I was walking around like I was like an 80-year-old geezer. I couldn't weight lift. I couldn't do anything. I literally could not do a thing. And it almost felt like I had the flu. It was crazy, but it was extended.
Mm.
Anyway, I went to my chiropractor. We came up with a plan, and within 2 weeks, dude, I was like almost 100%, literally.
Mm.
Had a lot to do with my neck and what have you. But so someone like me walks in with all this baggage. Something had already gone wrong. How do you and you help them, and you fix the issue, by doing adjustments, some movements, however you approach it. But how do you help them stay ahead of that injury later?
So a lot of what I do in my practice on how I treat people is that I try to tackle it as there is a level of functionality you need. So let's say, for example, actually I have someone right now. He had 2 meniscus injuries, had surgery on his
Mm.
right knee, and he had Achilles tendonitis in both knees, and he sprained his left ankle and hurt his back. So he played. I know this kid he's
Jeez.
gnarly, but he plays volleyball, basketball. He played tons of different sports, and after it just wasn't able to kind of get it working really well. But
Yeah.
after it's about 3 months almost with the kid, and he's good. Everything's fine now. Now, while
Wow.
we finished kind of because the only thing that you think about when we talk about pathology is pain. There's
Mm.
people who have a lot of different issues like disc herniations, like osteoarthritis, but they have no pain. The pain to
Mm-hmm.
me is not the best indicator. It's what can we do to teach and empower him to be better. So even though we got through all this stuff, now we're in a phase of, okay, what can I teach him, or what can I increase in attributes of him? Like, is he
Mm.
weak in these movements or those movements, or he plays basketball and volleyball? So we need to teach him how to properly land, how to properly do runs and sprints. I'll run him through a sprinting progression on how to properly sprint, how to
Wow.
properly cut. And then now we're talking about you're starting to build a skill, because injuries are going
Yeah.
to happen. Like
Yeah.
I like to think of injuries and emotions they're very similar, right? They go up and down. You don't know when they're gonna happen, and when they happen, you gotta deal with it.
Mm.
So it's how you come back from those injuries is how I think it's gonna work.
Yeah. So you're
Like
like a
you,
trainer too.
essentially, to a degree, but I
Yeah.
like to not say I'm a trainer, because I technically have trained before, but it's different when you have to work with hurt people.
Sure.
Because now we're fixing mechanics, we're doing certain things. I'm
Yeah.
actually certified by it's like a certification through the National Strength and Conditioning Association.
Mm-hmm.
You need a degree to be able to take the exam. So I'm certified as a strength coach. So I could work
Cool.
with like higher level athletes in the training sense, but it's a very different beast in itself. It's rewarding,
Yeah.
but trying to help people get out of injury, like when I was younger, is probably the best thing I could ever feel, I think.
Uh, mm, I gotcha. I gotcha. So here's $1 million question for you. What's the one thing that you'd tell every athlete or active person about why they need chiropractic care in their life?
People, especially now, I know a lot of people would agree with me, is that physical literacy, and what I mean by physical literacy is the ability to do basic movements, to
Uh,
understand body awareness is not all the
uh,
way. I cannot blame people. I do think it starts at the lowest level. Like if we can get kids to understand movement and have a certain curriculum for it, that will transfer over to adulthood. But a lot of
uh,
times people come into what they come in from my help or expertise, and a lot of it's just, hey, can you do the basic stuff properly? Or do you even understand what it feels like to move your pelvis forward or back? Or do you even know where your arms in space or your shoulder blade? Can you tell that you're kind of slouching or doing certain things? So if we can start to think about learning different types of movements or being more aware of your body, I think that is going to be the biggest thing to getting you further. And if you go to chiropractors, you go to physical therapists, I don't really care who, as long as they're solid and they're there to genuinely help you,
yeah,
it's going to get better. And
sure.
I feel like because we have to catch up, I think that everyone technically needs it. Everyone
Uh,
always needs to get better at movement to a degree or to what their goals lie. Like if you want to dunk, that's a whole different story versus if you
uh,
want to be able to move pain free.
that's a great answer, man. Great answer. So this is the fun part for me, at least. I geek out on this stuff. Talking about the business and the
Mm-hmm.
marketing aspect of chiropractic care. So, or chiropractic practice in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so again, you started fresh. I mean, technically, you're still a baby in a business eye, right?
Yeah.
Um, so running a business is a whole different beast. And I mean, I know that for myself, not just from chiropractic, just running a business people, oh, I want to run my own business. That's great. You want to run your own business. That's wonderful. That's a good thing to try to achieve and all that, but it is not easy, right? So when you get into it, no matter what you do, whether you're in chiropractic care or you're, running the bodega down at the corner, right? It doesn't matter. There's always these things that come up, um, possibly surprising you and hitting you in ways that you didn't know. So what what's been the most, let's say, surprising thing about starting your practice? What hit you that you were like, whoa, like what? I didn't even realize that that's part of business.
I think the most surprising thing for me is the mindset change that you get when you get your first patient or
Uh,
sale or however people want to say, is that
yeah.
the reality of what you live in becomes totally different.
Right.
It becomes, oh, I've always heard about like, oh, starting a business is hard. I always heard about, oh, it's really like you had to wear a lot of hats. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
really make sense until you make that first sale. For me, it was like huge game. It was like, oh, dang, people are really want to come to me for their services. They believe in this company and they like, but then in the backside, it's like almost like a dumpster fire in essence. And you understand this probably. It's, oh, I have to worry about like consent forms, note
Oh yeah.
taking, pay
Oh yeah.
fees, renting, and like trying to find equipment. Now we're talking about, oh, you gotta market and sell. And it's like,
Yep.
am I conveying my message and my
Yeah.
vision, the things I want to do? Am I conveying it properly to these people? Because I do believe that people get really kind of weird about business. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's evil, like you're manipulating people and stuff. But in
Yeah.
reality,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
have the service and you believe that you're going to help people in
Yeah.
one shape, form, or whatever,
Yeah.
then shouldn't you try to sell your product? Shouldn't it be a good thing that people want what you want to
Yeah.
give?
Yeah. That's
It
so
gets
good.
kind of weird, yeah.
That's so good. I literally, that completely resonated in my heart when you said that, because
Mm,
I'm in the same exact boat as you, because our I hate to say it this way, but our services can get a little pricey. But when it comes down to it, you're providing a service that's going to help and make an impact, not just on that one person, but it's going to have a ripple effect. And the service that you provide is changing lives. Now, I'm not changing lives directly, but I work with guys like you, right?
mm,
And I help grow their practice. Well, if I'm growing your practice, technically I have a hand in that same ripple effect, right? That's changing lives. I didn't have that when I was looking for a chiropractic, like a good chiropractor. I didn't have that on my side, and it took me forever to find somebody. So what and that's where I kind of stand in, right? That's the gap that I'm trying to fill. But
mm,
and that's where I come from. That's where everybody should come from a place of service, from a place of wanting to help, from a place of wanting to make change, right? And I see that in you, Dr. Mack, because you you went to a personal injury side, and that's great because that's needed, right? We're not mocking that, but you're like, no, there's got to be more. There's got to be something else. There's got to be, and I feel like you jumping into the practice the way you did, is going to make a much larger impact and a much bigger ripple effect, because you're bringing something from your heart,
mm.
as we both are, right? Like we're just saying, hey, I want to help grow your life. I want you to live a healthier life, etc. So I know I'm babbling here, but man, that totally resonated with me. That was such a great answer. Really,
Mm.
really.
And honestly, you're doing a great job. I mean, really, I think a lot of people, it's chiropractic is put in such a like controversial light. Not necessarily bad, but you're right now trying to, even from our conversations before this, is that you're trying to put light on this really, really wide topic that can be
Yeah.
pushed a million different ways, and the way you're going about it has a lot of class, and I really appreciate that.
Well,
You're
thank you
trying
for
to do
that.
this for the profession. It really, really does help.
Thank you for that. Thank you for saying that, man. Thank you for saying that, because
Mhm.
that's really my heart. I want people, because dude, no joke. I was at a place where I used to think chiropractic care, or like getting adjustments, could paralyze you. I was that ignorant. So, but there's a lot of people like me out there, and that's just really what I want. I want to bridge that gap and really educate people. Um, cool. So let's talk a little bit about where you're at. What's the name of the town? Is it, how do you say it? Whittier? Is that how?
Yeah,
What?
I'm out in Whittier, California right now. And that's where my practice is at. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So how does being part of the Whittier community, like how has that shaped how you connect with patients to and essentially grow your practice?
It's great. I realized that like in this day and age where you can Google things, go on Yelp, figure things out like that, is when you run a small business. And I rent space at the moment from one of my mentors in his facility. So as I rent space in there, and I'm like, okay, I have a couple hours to kill. I'm gonna go meet business owners, see what's kind of going around. As the weeks go by, as the months go by, you start to really network with people. You
Yeah,
start to kind of figure out that this little area had its own like, I don't know, just like culture in essence, and you're slowly joining in there because you're starting to meet like a lot of people I know are like, oh, like accountants, real estate agents,
yeah,
small business owners around the area, and that's us always talking about like our businesses going on. It's like
yeah,
it's pretty cool. You start to get like entangled into the community. People start to know
yeah.
you more, and it's a really nice feeling. But it's also interesting,
That's
kind of like the young gun coming in, like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, this guy's new. Like, really have like 8 other chiropractors here, but
Right, right. That's awesome. Yeah, I get that for sure. Actually, what's funny is some of the things that you're saying now, and your answers really mimic other answers that I've gotten. I feel like the chiropractic community has this just almost congruent approach to life. Because so yesterday I interviewed Dr. Peter Kevorkian. He's now the vice president at Life West College.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like some of the answers that he's giving, obviously it's a different perspective because the guy's been in the field for 40 years, but it still has that same tone. So whether you're just kind of cracking into it or you've been doing it for a while, it's really cool to hear that. It's really cool. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the digital, right, aspect of it, because I think I saw you on Yelp. You're definitely on Instagram, dude. You got some stuff going on there. It's really cool stuff. You guys got to check it out, really.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed watching your videos. Of course, Google and whatnot. So how do you make these platforms work for you to bring in new patients? I'm sure there's a lot of DCs out there that are either leaving their associate position and opening up their practices. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you, somebody who's doing it right now, how you bring in new patients using those platforms.
So when it comes to how I am trying to market myself, essentially, is that,
Yeah.
especially nowadays where people like to search things up all the time to figure things out, I think that just putting your profile up there and building it was one thing. But then as I got deeper into it, it becomes extremely nuanced. So now we're talking about, hey, how can we figure out a way to send a message to this audience of people that we think we can help out the most?
That's good.
Like if I was a scoliosis specialist, then I would have to be able to figure out a way is how can I reach the most scoliosis people?
Right.
So
exactly.
Even though I have all this stuff up, it's still a never-ending journey of trying to learn things. I would really, really recommend consulting with someone like Amin or someone who does like SEO or understands how like the search engines work, because it's all algorithms. It's understanding algorithms, putting the right words in, and then trying to target a specific type of people. But once you get that, even with all that, before all that, I think the biggest thing is just mastering your craft. Of course, I'm still learning. I think no matter what, everyone's always learning. But
of course,
how much effort I put into school, I really do believe how you do one thing is how you do everything. It allowed me to kind of not only sharpen my clinical skills to have good outcomes, because the biggest thing is outcomes. If your outcomes are good, people will stay.
Yeah.
And that's from every perspective. Are you a cool person to talk to? Can you get to people's problems? Are you relatable? All that stuff. And then that also even transfers into like the business side of things too. We have to be really good at what we do before we even put it out there. And even if people can argue that I'm not good or someone else, but it doesn't matter. Are you helping people right now? And have you got them fixed? And are you not hurting them? If you have that, doesn't matter what you're doing. You're doing the right thing.
Love it.
People will come.
Love it. That's a great answer, man. You did touch a little bit on the algorithm piece, and yes, that is true. They're algorithms that really learn how people behave online, and it's something that we use in my field, in the marketing field, we use to our advantage. But I learned over the years, I've been doing marketing for a long time, but when it comes to chiropractic care, it's different. It's a little bit different in the sense that you're really trying to reach people that are it's a whole gamut of people that are either trying to get healthier or are in pain. You're trying to catch people before they get in pain, right? And all that. So it's a different type of audience that you're trying to pull in, and it's a message that you're trying to put out there that says, I want to help you. I'm here. I have a service that will make your life better, right? So yes, put yourself out there. Put yourself out on Instagram. Put yourself out on Google. Put yourself out, on Yelp, Facebook, whatever, LinkedIn, everywhere, right? It's good to have all that in place because it'll establish your brand. And that's another whole that's a whole nother topic, the brand conversation that maybe we'll get into another time. But
Yeah.
because I can literally do a whole entire podcast session just on branding and what that means. Because when you say branding, people are like, oh yeah, I'll have my colors and my logo. No, it's so much more than that. But again, maybe for another time. But yeah, great points. Get yourself out there, and I'm always ready, willing, and able to help. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your patients and how we turn them into really, I hate to say it this way, but walking billboards, right? Or
Mhm.
advocates. Because dude, you've some really like glowing, amazing reviews out there.
Mhm.
How do you create a memorable experience that patients feel inspired to share their story? Or are you also like nudging them a little bit?
So a lot of the reviews I ask after I finish some type of treatment plan.
Uh-huh.
And I think super thankful for them, first of all. And it's as one of the first things I believe in is when someone walks in, I have to make sure they're a right fit. So I really believe in building that type of relationship where it's doctor patient, but I
Uh-huh.
still want to understand and get to know you. And I realize
Uh-huh.
that the more I try to really, really understand who this person is, like outside and in, then
Yeah,
we can start talking about, hey, how can we make this plan of care or this whole time they're with me the most memorable as I possibly can. So that's talking about, oh, hey, what do you like to do for fun? What are your hobbies? What are your likes and interests? And then
sure.
once that comes down to it, then we can talk about, hey, what can I do in my knowledge and services that can help you get? Do
Uh,
you want to get back to playing pickleball? Like, do
right.
you want to get back to running? I've had people tell me, oh yeah, like running was my escape, and now I can't do anything without my shins hurting for the past 6 months.
Mm,
So now we're talking about a deeper understanding. Like you can
sure.
go to any old person, you can go to a medical doctor, they can give you a shot, they can do a type of procedure, but you're never gonna see them again. I think it's
Mm,
really fostering that relationship with people in the sense of we're here to not only be a doctor, but to be a person, to hear them
yeah.
out. A lot of times people
Yeah.
they deal with these issues and they suffer in silence a lot of times. Especially like men. It's interesting. They'll like ask something for so long. Like all like my male like adult clients, they don't even try to get it fixed like yourself. And then as you start to get into it, it becomes like they tend to buy in more. Honestly. Like male older clients, like when they come in, really see what's going on, they're oh yeah, I really got it fixed. But if not, they suffer. Like
Yeah.
they people need to just start going. Honestly, it's interesting.
That's good. Good answer, man. Okay, so for listeners who might need your help, whether they
Mhm.
know it or not, everybody needs your help. But what's the best way for them to reach out to you and really start their recovery journey, or even just a path to a healthier life?
So if anyone wants to get in contact, I do have a website, olympussportstherapy.com.
Uh-huh.
You can contact me on Instagram. I try my best to give out as much free game as possible. But it just gets
Uh,
kind of weird too because I want to be able to give as much free game out, but also I don't want to be giving people cookie cutter
yeah.
solutions to things that are
Yeah.
not cookie cutter. And if that's the
Yeah.
case, we don't know if people can take that and if it would get better. Now, it's all about trial and error, right? Even like
Sure.
you ask medical doctors, you ask any clinician, same thing. It's okay, this is the theory that we've seen from X, Y, and Z assessments, imaging, all that stuff. This is how we're going to get
Yeah.
there. And if it works, it
Yeah.
works. It doesn't always
Yeah.
work for the same person. So follow me on
Gotcha.
Instagram, dr.alexmack, M-A-K. You can go to my website. I have forms that you can fill out for free assessments, free first visits. I definitely try to make sure that I can provide you everything. Because if it's
Uh,
something that's out of my wheelhouse, I'm not going to take it. And I'd much rather not take money on assessment. That's just
that's
not
good.
really how I want to do things.
I love that. I love that. That's honest. That's honest, man. I love it. So, is there maybe a phone number too where they can text or call?
Yes, it is 562-450-0840.
Okay. Excellent. And I'll have that somewhere in the description for sure, for everybody to see. So, chasing the science, right? So you're big on research based care. So,
Mhm.
which a lot of chiropractors are. Actually, there's not one chiropractor that I've come in contact with personally that isn't. So how do you stay on top of like the new techniques and possible, breakthroughs to keep giving your patients the best?
It's interesting that you say new breakthroughs because I think that there's so much information out there. There's so many schools of thoughts that I'm still reading on that stuff. Is that I read whatever I've subscribed to, like a strength and conditioning journal, as well as like I
Sure,
go and do my own research. It's
sure.
more of as I start to have problems and I want to fix them, I start to look into it.
Mm,
And I think if there's other chiropractors watching, is I personally think the best approach is to relearn mechanics until you
mm,
understand it to it. If you understand
mm,
mechanics, then you can apply theory. Because we can say that, oh, if you look at research on like chronic ankle instability, people lose certain movements and they get more movements in certain areas. How did that change their gait? What are, even though EMG studies, we can argue like, oh, like just because there's muscle activation that decrease or lower, that it doesn't mean that it's not activating. Yes, but
mm,
it tells you a story. Research, it just
mm.
tells you a story and it can be disproven. So if you learn mechanics and you understand theory and you start to research some of the things that you have going on, like, oh, what people will talk about, I don't know if it's getting too esoteric, like, oh, knee valgus, is it dynamic or static? Is it because of the anatomical, like how they're actually born and their way their femur is built, or is it like a movement issue or pattern that their brain can't like figure out? So we gotta train or do certain things. So, okay, I'm gonna go research strength and conditioning. Oh,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
muscles are involved in this, or in cutting or certain types of movements? Like, what is the overall like? Oh, where are all the forces from like a biomechanics standpoint? And as you start to figure that out, you can kind of take that and take basic theory of physiology and exercise physiology and kind of just blend them in, just figure out the
yeah,
problem. I think it's
yeah,
more like connection, right? Trying to figure
yeah,
things out. So
yeah,
I researched based on that. Like, oh,
yeah,
I'm curious why his knees move like that. I'll read a bunch of knee articles and then I'll go and search out the more recent ones. And then I read strength and conditioning things like which activities have the highest quad glute growth or has
right.
certain activations and muscles that tend to get delayed in injuries. So it gets kind of random. I don't know.
Yeah. So would you say though, research, yes, read, yes, but also make sure it's evidence based, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah,
A lot,
because
yeah.
I
There's like leveled evidence to everything
right,
too.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. So we all know the saying that, teamwork makes the dream work.
Mhm.
I sure as heck couldn't be as successful as I am without my team. Nor could I offer the the offer that I have. But within the chiropractic industry, um, I've come across chiropractors that are very to themselves
Mhm.
and they just have their practice. Now, I'm not saying they're not making a difference. Okay. So
Mhm.
don't get me wrong, but they're very like kept and they don't really connect with other healthcare professionals.
Mhm.
Um, you early on in the conversation mentioned that, with you have connections with physical therapists and what have you. So did you actually, or have you, and do you team up with other healthcare professionals to bring even more value to your patients?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
So going into a new business, and I haven't had the opportunity. I've taken a
Mhm.
step at a time in the fact
Yeah.
of I don't know enough people. So I refer based on, okay, I believe this is what's going on. We should or shouldn't get imaging, or we need to co-manage with someone else. I tend to tell them to go to whoever they normally go to, or I'm trying to build enough rapport and meet other doctors that I believe in the same values. I think that's the
Okay.
hard thing. So
Uh,
because I'm so fresh and so new that I haven't got to sit down with enough clinicians and practitioners that are close by me.
uh,
I have friends who are like in other states or like who are going to school or stuff like that. But when I was working as an intern a few years back,
uh-huh.
I remember we had to send a patient out and he had a couple issues in their low back. They went to their own surgeon and we sent them to a surgeon. And
Uh-huh.
one of the surgeons will say, we need to fuse your back. We need to cut it off, fuse your back, and then we're done. The other guy was like, hey, honestly, if you're going to get better from physical therapy and chiropractic stuff, just keep pushing it. Don't only come to me when you just want to do something, but even trying to get a procedure, there's also complications toward it. So if you're getting better from a holistic standpoint, stick that route before we talk about going into something a little bit more serious. And it depends on like what they have going on. So now we have two schools of thought. So I kind of send out. I'd be scared to have someone get cut open right away before trying some type of conservative or holistic stuff.
Yeah.
So I need to meet the right
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. I love that. Actually, we were in that boat last year when we find out my son had scoliosis, and we didn't know what to do. And he was getting treated by a chiropractor, but now we needed something a little more intense. So we actually went both routes. We went the medical route and we went the chiropractic route. And when we went to talk to a surgeon, I couldn't believe my ears, man. He literally said to me and my wife, "Hey, I can't help you right now, but what we could do is, we'll give him a brace that he can wear at night, and it may help, it may not help, but when he gets to like a 50-degree curve, then we'll do surgery." What? No, absolutely not. So anyway, we kept seeking other alternatives. That's how we landed at the doctor we are at now. Actually, it's Clear Scoliosis. I don't know if you ever heard of that organization, but they literally specialize in scoliosis care. But and dude, my son started with a 40-degree curve when we first got to that center, and within a month, and it's actually a 2-week program that he does, but within a month, because we couldn't go, it was a scheduling thing, but within a month, dude, 14 degrees improved. 14, it was insane. Like, my mind was blown. So like, yes, there's a place for the medical industry, like doctors and surgeons, 100%. We need them and we have the best care in the world. But I feel like you need to approach it with an open mind and say, okay, I might need an invasive approach to this thing that I have, but there might be a non-invasive approach. Kind of like you're saying, you hate to say, okay, you need surgery right off the bat. Let's try and figure out what we could do in order to get you there. And I think as you're growing, you as a practice and as a doctor, and the more connections you make, with, physical therapists, nurse practitioners, doctors, whatever, people of the same mindset, I think you'll have a team around you that would do that and say, okay, hey, you need to go see Dr. Mack before we start talking about surgery options, because I think he can help you. You know what I mean? Like things like that. So I think it's really cool that you're working towards that. It's good
I
stuff.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
I'm glad that your son's getting better. Seriously.
Oh man, it's yeah. It was a huge weight. Weight.
I can't imagine. Just honestly, even like with some of the people I have, they're a little bit like youth athletes, and their parents are always just extremely worried. It's all I always see. It's the kids actually don't even seem that like bothered too much about it. It's always the parent that's
it's
more
the
like
parents. Well, because they understand the
see.
severity of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and always get kind of tough. So I'm glad that he's getting better.
Thank you. Actually, and we found out this year that my daughter also has scoliosis, unfortunately. So she went through the same program. She also got, improved and all that. They wear full-time braces, like 21 hours a day.
Mm.
But it's working. It's working. They're both out of surgery.
Numbers.
They don't need surgery. Yeah, they don't need surgery anymore, which is awesome. That's a blessing. It's definitely the hand of
That's
God, in my
great.
opinion.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, okay, let's dream big, Dr. Mac.
Okay.
Um, where do you see Olympus Sports Therapy in 5, 10 years? What's the big vision for you?
Big vision for me, realistically, is to
No, not realistic. I'm talking dream big, man. Like this is you're gonna look back and say, I did it. That I did it. This was it. What's that big vision that you have? I'm stretching you here a bit.
I know. So thing I really, really want to figure out and get done
Yeah.
is if I could team up with the right people,
Mm-hmm.
with the right mindset, the right perspective, and the right timing, is to have all-encompassing healthcare kind of managed, run through this team. So I'm talking about a nutritionist, where I'm talking about someone who can really, really dial that in for people. That's super important. Talking about medical doctors, nurse practitioners who can work with extreme cases, who can do things like therapy and STEM, to also have a side of strength and conditioning specialists who know how to properly coach and are really, really well versed in that aspect. You take that
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
take the highest levels of each one
Mm.
and maybe separate companies, but have this kind of symbiotic, synergistic perspective on healthcare,
Yeah.
and we can
Yeah.
all learn from each other. I think the outcomes would be insane. It would be,
Wow.
we're taking a local level and making it bigger.
Yeah.
And the goal is to make an impact from where I can.
Yeah.
Because it'd be great to be on the global scale. But
Of
when it comes to
course.
dreaming that big, I'm more on the what can I do here and how can I send that message out into the world.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Well, so when you look back, then here's my $1 million question for you. Then when you look back one day, what do you hope people will remember about you and Olympus Sports Therapy?
I think I would want people to learn that movement and keeping yourself healthy from all different types of perspectives is the best medicine you can ever get.
Mm,
To eat healthy, to exercise, to really take care of yourself, you don't really need medication in the future. Well, you might still need
mm,
medication, but you get what I'm saying.
sure.
And I hope that people just look at me and my company as honest people. That's it.
It's good.
Honest people
Yeah.
who genuinely want to help. And
Yeah.
I hope
I
to
I
really, really grow that.
I see that. I really do. Just in our conversation today and our previous conversation, I see that kind of honesty and that genuine desire to help people. I already see that in you. So it's just going to get even better from here, man. So that's really cool. Really cool answer. Love it. Love it. Um, okay. Before we kind of part ways here,
Mhm.
we're gonna break a myth. So
Okay.
what's one chiropractic myth, kind of like the one I shared
Huh?
earlier in the podcast? What's one chiropractic myth you wish you could clear up once and for all?
I think the biggest myth I have to kind of talk about, because I think it's the one that people are the most scared of, is getting adjusted and becoming paralyzed.
Uh-huh.
And that there is merit to it. The idea of it is, I forgot I don't know the specific off the top of my head, but it was like they did the research. It was like 1 in like 2 million or something that people actually have issues with adjustments. And a
Uh-huh.
lot of times the adjustment is the straw that broke the camel's back. But normally before that, they already have some type of issue. Like their
Mm-hmm.
veins or arteries are thinning in the area,
Mm-hmm.
or they've already had a blood clot and they already have stuff there, and the adjustment dislodges it.
Mm.
But the thing is that unless you have severe like heart conditions or a like vascular issue or something, or you're like really, really old
Yeah,
and the chiropractor isn't doing the job, which is asking the right questions,
that's right.
seeing if there's actually anything going
That's
on,
right. Yep.
it's not an issue. Like
Yeah.
people, you have a higher chance of going into your car and driving out.
Yeah.
First 5 miles, you have like, I forgot, like, I know the statistics is lower. I don't know if it's like
Sure.
the 1 out of 100,000, 1 out of 50,000,
Yeah.
but people get
Yeah.
into car accidents pretty regularly.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, so you said something that resonated with me, and it really has a lot to do with the, I would say the intake process of a patient. The right questions are being asked, and you guys are educated to the point where you know what questions to ask, you know what red flags to look for, you know
Mhm.
who to adjust and who not to adjust. And for those that you can't adjust, those are far and few between. But then you'll also have a plan for them to maybe get them to a place where they can be adjusted, right? So there's a lot that goes into it. And yeah, you're right. The statistics are like ridiculously high. Like there's the probability of something happening. It's more related to a pre-existing condition that
Mhm.
went, undiagnosed really at the end of the day. So yeah, I I was there. I believe that. I'm like, I'm not getting adjusted. I want my legs to work, right? So
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I get it. All right. So let's part some wisdom on our listeners. Okay. So if
Mhm.
someone's listening and they're on the fence about trying chiropractic care, what would you say to them?
Have an open mind. Understand that what you hear from one guy might not be the same from someone else. And to really find someone that, based on your own intuition, seems like they care. There are a lot of people who are running a business, not running a clinic. So when you go in there, just be open-minded, but also to understand or try to figure out if they're really there to help. Because
Uh,
adjustments are a tool in the toolbox. Doesn't like if you ever, I forgot what it's called, but Bruce Lee, he like created this whole martial art based upon like, hey, I'm gonna research and learn all these different martial arts, take what is
uh,
the best outcome or
uh,
the best move that actually is effective, and use that to fix your problem. That's how I like to approach things.
yeah,
But adjustments, if I make you do an exercise, you can get the exact same like outcome as an adjustment. If I make you
yeah,
do an exercise, now you're independent.
uh,
You can fix your posture in your back. You can remobilize structure. There's certain things I have to do, of course, but then majority of the time, if I just teach you how to properly move and teach you certain things, it can get there a lot, or it can have longer lasting effects. Adjustments and then doing exercise, that would just be a quicker methodology in a
yeah.
sense.